Hey kids, it's me. So today we're going to be looking at some fasteners up close and personal like. So I'm going to kind of draw a fastener from the side. Here's the head, as you recall. Okay, comes down here. And it starts the threads. They kind of look like so, whatevs. Something like this. And the things to remember are, first of all, you're going to look at the top of the head. You're going to identify, is it metric or American? Now we're going to introduce this concept today. SAE, Society of Automotive Engineers. Okay, and this is America. So this is the American sizes. Now listen carefully. In a shop, okay, anything prior to any Japanese car, any European car, any of them, metric, duh, right now. We will use quote unquote American sizes, SAE. You'll see these frequently from the early 90s back. Okay. In the 70s, everything was American, duh, right? In the 80s, it kind of started to switch. My Bronco was in 90, it's half and half. It's literally half and half. Because they were wanting to use up some of the old parts, the old engines and transmissions and stuff still had American stuff on them, and they kept using them until they were done. When they switched to different engines in about 97, Ford did, for instance, everything on the car was metric at that point. Okay, so just be aware of that. It happens. Okay, anything that's like a 2000, what is it, Mr. Green? It's metric. Duh, it's metric right now. Duh. Now remember, on the heads, you will see things like 8.8. That is metric right now. You will see things like 10.9. Hey, that's metric right now. This is kind of a medium. This is a hard bolt. Okay. If you look at the head and you see this number, well, if you see that, you've got a problem. That's a weird bolt, friend. If you see this guy, this is grade 5, which again is medium-ish. That's kind of what we were using for 99. Well, I don't know, 99. A lot of what we use in the shop is grade 5 or grade 8.8. It's very common. It's uniform kind of fastener. It's kind of a medium strength. And if you see 6, this is grade 8. This is the American version of hard bolts. Again, this is SAE. If you see a numerical score, this is metric. Cool. That's the first thing you should look at. If it's metric or standard, whichever it happens to be, then the next thing we're going to look at is this. We're going to measure the diameter of this end. Bolts are determined by their diameter. Is it 6 millimeter or is it like a 1/4 inch? Again, if it is metric, we're going to measure it in, metric. Duh. If it's standard or SAE, we're going to measure it in inches, clearly. We are then going to measure the length. And again, if it's a standard, that is, if it's SAE, that is American, we're going to use inches. And if it's in metric, we're going to use millimeters, again. And then the last thing we're going to talk about tonight is the thread pitch. I'm going to talk about this for a few minutes before we get into it, and then we'll go from there. So, on SAE, right, they will tell you something like, why did I put that up there? That was dumb. Sorry. One moment, please. We will say just shut up. We'll say things like 16 TPI. That means threads per inch. And what that means is if you have 16 threads per inch, I'm trying to kind of draw the bolt here like this. The bolt comes into the piece of metal, let's say right here, and it's got a head on it here like so. If you turn this sucker 16 times, it will go into the metal it'll go into the metal 1 full inch. And for every one turn, it will go in. Or in the case of a nut, the nut will go on 1/16 of an inch. Mr. Green, I can't focus on 1/16. Can you give it to me as a decimal? Yes, it's 0.0625 inches, if that makes you happy here. Okay? It's very, very small. Okay, it's very, very small. But in reality, we'd say that's actually not, when it comes to some of the stuff that we measure in the shop, that's actually not that small. It's 62.5 thousandths. Okay, when we measure things like clearances for rod bearings and main bearings later on, we'll see 2 thousandths, 3 thousandths, things like that. Very, very small clearances. Okay, so in this regard, it's pretty good size. If you had one that was 20 TPI, that means for every one turn, it will go 1/20th of an inch. Okay, bam, or 0.05 inches if that makes you happier. Okay, that's how SAE ones work. Okay, pretty straightforward in that regard. Now, by contrast, the metric ones will be a little different. Just a minute, I got to pause for a second and do something here real quick. All right, I'm back. Hope you didn't miss me too much. Okay, so the game is this. Metric will say something like this. It'll say something like 1.25, and you're like, what does that mean? What's the units? Okay, well, check it out, friend. If I have a bolt, and I'll draw a bolt thusly, with my threads on it, aight. Now here's the game. So you could look at it as that's the distance between those threads, 1.25 millimeters. That's one way you can look at it. Or another way of saying that is this. It will go in for every one turn. For every one turn, it will go in 1.25 millimeters. In other words, it's already divided out for you. Okay? So in other words, I had to take that 1/16 and divide it and get 0.0625 inches to see how far it will go in. That's true. But on these guys, the thread pitch, we call it, thread pitch, is strictly how far they are apart, or if you prefer, how far it will go in for one turn of the bolt. Okay? Now, 1.5 millimeters, they'd obviously be further apart. And what does that do to us? Well, it says that instead of going in 1.25 millimeters, it's going to be going in 1.5 millimeters. Well, I mean, these threads are further apart. That's right. That's right. And so, typically, and this is true for metric and SAE, I will show you some bolts here in a minute, but when you look at them viewed from the side, and I'm not going to tell you which one this is, metric or standard, okay? Whoa, there seems like a lot of threads on that, Mr. Grimm. There is. You're not wrong, friend. That's a really big head, Mr. Grimm, I know. Okay? We would call this a fine thread. That is, they are really close together, and we call this more of a coarse thread. Now, we really only use that terminology in SAE, but it's true in metric as well. For instance, you might see a 6 millimeter bolt. That's diameter-wise. Everything would be the same except the thread pitch. One might have a 1.75, and the other one might have a 1.25 or something, or a 1.0. And you're like, oh, this 1.0 is a lot finer. The threads are a lot closer together. It's the same thing. It just looks a little different. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to demonstrate how some of this stuff works on camera here. And yeah, so here we have the metric thread pitch gauge. If you focus on this down here, well, maybe it says, yeah, you can see 1.25, it says right there. And you see this guy here says 1.0, and so on and so on. And there's even finer ones down here, like 0.5 millimeters, Mr. Grimm. That's right, that's right. Nice. Now, what we're going to do, and then I have an SAE one as well. One moment, please, so I get the SAE one out. Yeah, here's an SAE one. It's literally labeled SAE. And when you flop these dudes out, they look like little combs. That's literally what they look like. That's 12 threads per inch, and there's 13, 14. I bet that one's 15. I'm just saying. Yep. Oh, no, I lied. Oh, I can't tell. It's 18, 20. I can't tell through the camera. Up close, you can probably tell, but I'm not going to care that much. On this side, whatevs. You can start looking at them and see what they are. And they're like 27, and there's 40. Holy crow, that's a really small one. 30. Hope I'm missing one. Here we go. And there's 24. Sweet. So that's kind of the game. Okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to randomly reach into this bucket of bolts here, and I'm going to look at the head of it. Oh, dude. Uno, dos, tres. This is a grade 5. That means it's SAE. So if you're playing along at home, you're going to grade this out. And you're going to say, all right, cool. I'm going to make a little note here. Grade 5. And by this fact that I'm saying it's grade 5, I realize it's SAE right off the bat. Okay? Then I've got this handy-dandy tool here. Oh, Mr. Groom. It literally has all these different holes. Is how it works. You just literally just take your bolt and see if it fits through the hole. That's right. Oh, bro, it ain't 1/4 inch. Dude, it ain't 5/16. Jesus. It's not 3/8. 7/16. No bueno. 1/2 inch. Whoop! Look at that. Like a glove. Judas Priest. Like a glove. So, over here, we're going to put that it's a 1/2 inch. Nice. Nice. And then we're going to measure the length of it. Now, to find the length of it, one simply hooks the doodad right under the head. And you see where it lands. And you're like, it's about 2 inches, Mr. Groom. Yeah, that's true. We're going to call that 2 inches. Isn't it technically a little less? Not really. 2 inches. Sweet. And then lastly, but not leastly, in fact, way not leastly, we're going to find the thread pitch of this feller. Now, I'm going to grab one of these little comb doodads, and I'm going to see if I can find one that fits into his threads properly. So, for instance, this fella. I'm going to see if it works. Now, when I hold that up, I'm like, I feel like that doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like no bueno. What about this fella? Yeah, no, brah. Dude, look at that. Like a freaking glove. And so we're going to say that this is a 13. What just happened? Give it to me. 13 TPI threads per inch. Now you go down to Ace Hardware, friend, and you can find you a bolt that exact same size, dimension, everything, and you're good to go. And then it'll fit into whatever application that you're dealing with. Ooh, say Haas, I see 8.8. Right off the bat, friend, what does that tell me? It tells me she's metric. Excuse me. And it is an 8.8 on the strength. Gonna die. I guess you'll never know, because if I died, then you wouldn't know if there's videos up, because I don't think they'd post it posthumously. Now, I'm going to see if this fits in the holes. Let's see. No, that feels a little too big there, Mr. Groom. What about this fella? No, think so. 12. Ooh. But is it a 10? Dude, it ain't a 10, bro. It is a, get in there, a 12 millimeter. Give it to me. Come on now. Shmo. 12 millimeter. That's the diameter. And then we're going to measure the same way, but on the metric side. Okay, of course. Bloop. 35 millimeters. Slicker than snot, friend. 35 millimeter length. Nice. There's 2 M's there. I don't know what my problem is, but that's 2 M's, obviously. And then I'm going to get my metric thread pitch gauge out. And I'm going to go see if I can find one of these little dudes that fits in there. Okie dokie. Now, I'll tell you right now, 1.75, 1.25, and 1.5 and 1 are probably the most common that you'll see. Okay? I'll try the one. Oh, it's like I know what I'm talking about. 1.5 thread pitch. Bam. Okay? That's it. You're done. Next. Give us another one, Mr. Groom. I'll try it this time. Nice. Nice. I would like to point this one out for just a jiff. Look at this fella here. Look at the threads compared to the threads on this dude. Why, these threads are a lot closer together. That's true. These ones are further apart. You're not wrong. We would call these dudes finer threads. We'd call these dudes coarser threads. Okay? Now, they're not the same size bolt. And so on the same size bolt, coarse threads on a 1/2 inch might very well be 13 threads per inch. And it might be something like 16 or 18 or 17 or something. I don't know what it is for a fine thread on this dude. This is a smaller diameter bolt. Smaller diameter bolt, obviously, will have, this could be a coarse thread. No, it's not, but it could be, say, a coarse thread for this size of bolt. And then you could actually have a finer thread than this guy. okay? But we'll see. Okay, I just wanted to kind of point the differences out between coarse and fine threads. Now, again, have a look at the head. Focus, you hippie. Focus. Focus. Uno, dos, tres. This one's kind of worn out. But 3, that is grade 5er. Once again, that tells me what? It tells me it's SAE. Right off the bat. Bam. Okay, let's go see what hole she fits into. Now, once again, it's SAE. So let's get down here and start looking at these dudes. 5/16 is no bueno. 3/8 fits like a glove, bro. 3/8. That's the diameter. Let's find the length while we are in the ballpark. So that's 2 1/4. So it's 3/8 diameter and 2 1/4 length. Nice. And then let's find our threads per inch. Okay. That's the wrong one, stupid. You want the SAE one. Atta bib. Now, as I said, that's kind of a fine thread. I don't think any of the ones over here will work, but let's try. Let's try the old 8. Is that an 18? That's an 18 by George. Does 18 fit? And you're like, well, no, it don't go in. What about this fella here? What is that, 20? Let's try 20. See if 20 works. No, not quite. Wait, is there another one hiding? Are you hiding from? That's too big. Let's come over here. So we need bigger than 20. Let's try 24. See if 24 works for us, huh? Yes, I need to cut my fingernails. I know. Get over yourself. And 24 it is, friend. Bam. Bam. This finger finally grew back. I broke it off last year. It was fun. All right. And so 24 threads per inch. I will tell you right now that I happen to know on this guy here. Do I happen to know? I'm pretty positive that I happen to know that on 3/8 bolts, a fine thread would be 16 threads per inch. Or a coarse thread, I'm sorry. Coarse thread would be 16 threads per inch. Okay. All right, here's another one. Oh, that's boring. Well, no, that's actually a good one. This is a good one. 8.8. 8.8. It's upside down, Mr. Groom. It's 8 with a little dot up in the top, and then 8. It's not 8. Oh, 8.8. Cool. 8.8. That's metric, of course. At the same time, it tells me that. I mean, duh. Okay. Now let's take a peek, see what the diameter is. Again, make sure you're on the metric side. 8, 10. Ooh, it's a 10. Say. And then let's find out the length of it while we're here. Again, hook it around the corner. That is 70 millimeters. That's 10 by 70 millimeters. Okay, and then let's look at our thread pitch here. What just happened? Okay, so our thread pitch for our metric. By the way, notice that this metric one here, not that one, this metric one here. Notice that this one, look, see if you can see if there's a difference there in the size. I mean, if you can tell, they look like they're pretty close to the same threads per inch there. If you look at them, you see how far apart they are. I think they do. Let's find out. So let's grab our metric doodad, which is right here. And again, metrics typically are 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75. A lot of them anyways. It's pretty common. You'll see some other ones, but those are the most common. Well, looky there. 1.5. That's why those two bolts look so similar when we looked at them in terms of their threads. Nice. That's hot. Still a couple more here just for a good time. Once again, you got some nuts here. I just brought some nuts just for a good time. This one here is actually stamped 8 because it's an 8 millimeter, I believe. Okay, this one doesn't have any stampings on it. Oftentimes, you won't find any stampings. You're like, well, how would I figure it out? I feel like, well, if they're big enough, so there's two things you can do. First of all, if you come on the end of these guys, you'll see that these, if you come up to the shoulder right there, that tells you what size diameter. This is a 1/2 inch nut. You can see that if it wouldn't go on the 9/16 one, and on this end, these are also. Well, I feel like it's a conspiracy because like there's no metric ones. Yeah, that's true. You're not wrong. Okay, but see, it's too big. It goes all the way on. It should stop right there at the little shoulder. This is a 1/2 inch, And then you're like, well, what is it? Like, how could I tell us what kind of thread it is? Well, in theory, if it's big enough, you can use the thread pitch gauge and see if, come on, get over here, you ding dong. See if you can actually see what it is. Now, it's tricky to see in there, especially on camera. But you can see, well, I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, you can see it. Well, you can kind of see that it fits, but whatever. If you're not convinced, what a guy can do is grab a 1/2 inch by 13 nut bolt. Well, looky there. It's like a glove, Mr. Groom, and that's how you'd really know. Okay, so if I'm going to the store and I'm going to look at getting some nuts or whatever, I take the bolt that I'm trying to match up with me because I find it very, 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 very obnoxious to try to match things up when it's not there. I do not care for that very much. Okay, I feel like that's the same exact size. I'm not going to do that one. I want to make sure that when I get home, I ended up with the correct one. Okay? Oh, sweetness. Oh, baby. Mr. Groom, you didn't bring us any grade 8s, did you? No, I didn't. How come? So all I have in the back room that's already set apart nicely are grade 5s and 8.8s. I have some random stuff in a deal, but I didn't feel like rummaging through that. And these ones are clean, so I just got clean ones. I didn't want to get my hands dirty on Sunday after all. Okay? So it's Merca and grade 5. Grade 5. Once again, grade 5 means SAE. Duh. So let's take a peek, and see if we can find out what the diameter is. Well, where is it, Mr.? That's the wrong side, Mr. Groom, you goob. Hey, look at that. 7/16, dog. 7/16 by 1 3/4. 7/16 by 1 3/4. Oops, 1 3/4. And then let's take a peek, see if we can find our thread pitch. Let's try the old 14er Rooney, see if that works for us here. George, look at that. How did you know, Mr. Groom? Well, I feel like the slightly bigger bolt, the 1/2 inch bolt, used a 13 threads per inch. And I was just out of my mind. I'm like, I bet that's a 14. So that's what I went with. And I wanted to see if it worked. Again, it's not rocket surgery. Does it fit? Then it's the right size, bro. That's it. All right, one last one, I think, and we'll call it a night. I've about tuckered myself out thinking about this. Say, can you see? It's an 8.8, Mr. Groom. That means she's metric. That's right. Mr. Groom, I'm disappointed that you didn't find us some 10.9s. Get over yourself. I don't care. I'm over it. All right. Whatevs, dog. Would the 10.9 still go in the holes? Yep. Ooh, 10. That looks like it fits. Pretty nice. Does it go in the 8? No. So this is a 10. And frequently, by the way, instead of saying metric, we'll just say it's an M10. And again, same thing up here. I could have just said M10. And up here, I could just easily have said M12. What does that tell me? Metric, 12 millimeter. Okay. Now down to here, let's take a peek at the length of it again. This is a little fella. A little short feller, 20 millimeters. And let's take a peek at our thread pitch. Again, typically it's going to be one of these dudes on this end of things. Well, looky there, will you? 1.5. It's like I know what I'm talking about. Once in a while. So that is what we're going to be talking about. Did you bring any less than 1.5s, Mr. Groom? I did. Well, at least I thought I did. I'm not sure that I did. Wait. Merca. Oh, apparently not. That's sad. I thought I did. Here we go. There's a little feller. Let's do one more just for a good time. Because why not, right? I mean, it's Sunday. It's almost 7. I haven't eaten yet, but whatevs. All right, here we go. Ooh, say. Mr. Groom, how do you know it's metric? Because it says 8.8, dude. Oh, it's a little guy. It is a little guy. Or gal, I don't know. I don't judge. I'm just here to do my little work, do my little thing. Mr. Groom, this actually looks a lot smaller than a 6. It is. Mr. Groom, this doesn't go all the way down to the smallest one you have? No, apparently not. This is actually an M5, apparently. I did not know that I had any M5s. I just grabbed it off the shelf. So it's an M5, and it is... Get your finger out of the way, dummy. I can't. It's too little. All right, it's an M5 by about... We'll call that 15, I guess. M5 by 15. And let's see what the thread pitch is on this dude. Now, look at that thread pitch. It's fairly small. But let's see if it... Or is it just an illusion? I don't know. That is not 1.5. Can you see that? It does not fit, Mr. Groom. You're going to need more threads per inch. Like how many? I don't know. Let's find out. That's not the right one. Oh, uh-oh. I bet this fell apart one time and some clown put it back together with part SAE. That's not good. 28 is not possible. There's no such thing as 28. For heaven's sakes. All right, where are we at? Let's try the old one. Let's try the old one. Get on there. No bueno. What's this fella? 0.9. Well, if your dumb thumb would get out of the way, idiot. No, not going to quite make it, is it? Let's go over here and see what's what on this side. Oh, this is spellbinding TV, Mr. Groom. See, 27, that isn't right either. Why is that even on here? That's just stupid. 0.5. I don't think it's that small. No, it's not that small. Oh, now I'm just getting angry. 0.8. Let's try the old 0.8 Rooney there. Oh, it's riveting TV, Mom. Please don't make me stop watching Mr. Groom screw around with bolts and nuts. It's so fun. 0.8. Bam. Mic drop. I'm done. Okay? 0.8 threads, or 0.8 is our thread pitch. Again, that means that for every one turn of the bolt, it will go down into the metal 0.8 millimeters. Now, what I'd like to do is this, friends, just for fun. Right? This is 1 inch right there. You see that? 1 inch. Well, no, you can't see that. Duh. There's 1 inch right there. Now, what I'm going to do, if I measure up all the way up to where the threads are, it's about 1.5 inches. Do you see that? Okay. So what does that tell me? Well, this bolt is 13 threads per inch. So from the time I get it started, which is like right there, if I went around 13 times, I'm going to be up the bolt a full inch. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. So, I should paint that somehow. I'll just keep my one finger on that. Okay, so that's 1. Oh, it's going to be hard to do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now if I did it right, which who knows if I did it right, that top of the bolt should be about 1 inch up the thing. I didn't count quite right. I must have missed one somewhere. Are you with me? All right, and it should take, if I had marked this, I could have seen it a little better. I don't think I have any. Wait, I might have a Sharpie. Don't move. Wait, I don't even have to move. My bag is literally sitting right next to me. Literally sitting right next to me. And I have this great big red pick-me-up Sharpie in it for whatever, right? Like I'm not judging, I'm just saying. Okay? How about that, dog? All right, now that's what we're going to do. We'll do it this way instead. Mr. Groom will hold the nut and turn the bolt. How about that? Okay, it'll be a little easier to see. Let's count, shall we? Okay. All right, so give it to me. Okay, so I'm going to turn the nut, the bolt this time, okay? So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, now. Yeah. It's a little screwy. It must not have been started. Oh, you know what I think it is. I don't think it's quite started. But that's the gist of it anyways, friends. Okay, so I'm going to try one more time. It's starting to piss me off now. All right. Just barely started. Okay. Let's do it this way. Let's measure from the top of the nut to the end of the deal here. So that is an inch. It's hard to say. It's not exactly 3/8, is it? So like 5/16 or something. Yeah, inch and 3/8. We'll call it inch and 3/8. Here we go. So, oh shoot. Well, we actually know what we can do it that way. Let's just do this. Let's do it so that it's from the top of the head of the bolt to the nut. We'll just do it where it's nice and level and even. So from right there, it is. Let's do it this way, I guess. That's an inch and 1 3/4 inches, okay? So to the nut right there. So we need to go in and we'll end up at 3/4 of an inch when we're finished. In other words, if we start here on that line right there, that guy, we should end at that guy right there after we turn the thing 13 times. Let's see if we can do it. See if we can do it right this time without screwing it up. All right, so here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now let's see if we're right this time. Oh, bro. It's exactly where we wanted to be, right there. Boom. All right, there it is. Now, again, one can see that if one had finer threads like this little fella right here, you'd turn it and 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 turn it. And how far would you have gone? Not very far. So we like threads like this. These we call them coarser threads. Okay, we like this kind of thread for general purpose things. Notice that it's easy to get stuff on and off. Whee! Whee! When you use these finer threads, it's a little hard to get the bolt on and off because you'll notice that there's a lot more friction because there's going to be a lot more of them grabbing onto the nut. Now that's actually a very good thing when it comes to high torque situations, and we're going to talk more about that in the next few days. But when I want to torque something down and I want it not to move, and it's like an engine piece or something, things inside of an engine, bolts hold the engine together. I like to use the companies use fine threaded bolts because they actually provide better torque and better sealing, and they pull down a lot tighter. It's not unlike if you're toting a heavy load. Do you want to walk up a steep ramp with a heavy load, or do you want to walk up a short ramp? So the game is this. Like if you had to take a package, a heavy duty package, like 200-pound package, and you have to get it from down here at the ground level, and you're like, ugh, and you got to get it up here, okay? Do you take the ramp or the staircase or whatever? Well, you kind of overshot it. Sorry, you go up to here. Do you take this nasty long, that steep ramp? No, you don't. You do this. You go, wee, and then you turn and you come back up here, wee, and then you turn and come back up here, wee, wee. This is the longer route, but a person can do it. It's not unlike in a car when you're in the mountains. You take switchbacks. You don't drive up the side of a hill in your little Toyota Corolla. It doesn't work that way. Same basic principle. We can get a lot more force on these guys here. Okay, we can do things better, and it'll actually help hold things down better when you're torquing stuff down. Okay, we use fine threads a lot in an engine situation. I'll tell you right now, out on the farm equipment, you like to have the coarse threads because this stuff ran the dirt all the time. You get some dirt in there, and it's big enough, and there are big enough gaps in there that you can still drive it off with the dirt. Guess what happens when you get dirt packed in these things? Yeah, the nut will not go up and down it, friend. It's a mess. Now, these are great in a situation like, again, like in a shop situation or an inside of an engine situation where things stay, clean. Okay, these work great for, again, general purpose, but then places where they're going to take an abuse. Okay, you would not put the tracks on your bulldozer with this kind over here, because they would get full of dirt and crap. You'd never get them off, ever. Granted, they'd be ginormous bolts, but you'd never get them off. Coarse threaded bolts, guy can get them on and off, even if they're full of dirt, they get dinged up a little bit, they take a little more abuse. Okay? All right, I'm done talking. Have a nice day.